I'm going to address a big problem today. If you've never been on a motorway with a driving instructor and you've passed your driving test, going on a motorway for the first time can be really, really scary. If you don't know what you're doing properly, it can also be dangerous. Let's learn how to use a motorway properly and PovCam so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Joining a motorway using a slip road can be daunting. It's probably the hardest thing about using motorways. But let's simplify it. All we need to do is 3 things: speed up, indicate, and find a gap in the left lane. So firstly, speed up to the speed of the traffic, then indicate to show people your intention, and then find a gap in the left lane using your mirror and a quick blind spot check. So 60 miles an hour is the max speed. I'm going to start now, speeding up, working through the gears. And don't be scared to put your foot all the way into the carpet to get more speed more quickly. Then, as I'm entering the motorway zone, I'm indicating, and I'm not going to move right until the solid line is finished. I'm checking my mirror, quick blind spot check to make sure that there's nobody in my blind spot and nobody moving from lane 2 into lane 1 at the same time. If this is your first time, what you're going to want to do is stay in lane 1 and gradually increase your speed. If it's the first time that you've ever done 70 miles an hour, you're not going to want to jump straight to 70. I'm sitting here at 61 miles an hour. I'm quite happy. I'm not in anyone's way, I'm not under pressure to go faster, and I'm quite comfortable. What you will find in the UK is that lorries and coaches are limited to 60 miles an hour anyway. So if you're in the left lane, you have no pressure to go to 70. Once you start to get a little bit more confident, you can then build up speed and move into the next lane. Lane changing on a motorway is really simple. I'm not considering the move until I've done 2 things. Firstly, check my mirrors so I know where everybody else is. Then apply a signal. Last minute blind spot check to make sure there's no one moving from lane 3 into lane 2. Cancel my signal and then carry on in my lane. I'm now at 65 miles an hour, following the slightly faster moving traffic, and I don't have to move into lane 3 unless I want to overtake. It's really important that you stay in the left lane, or as left as possible, all the time, unless you're overtaking. You might have heard your parents say, lane 1 is the slow lane, and lane 3 is the fast lane. That's old school. All of the lanes are 70 miles an hour. The left lane is the driving lane and all other lanes are overtaking lanes. So we're going to keep as left as possible all the time. Now my confidence is growing, so I'm thinking about an overtake again. I'm only doing 62 miles an hour and I want to go a little bit faster. So mirror check, signal, now I'm considering the move. Blind spot check. When you do a blind spot check, it's really important that you keep your steering wheel straight. When you turn your head, it's really tempting to move this steering wheel as well, but we don't want to do that. Now, let's think about steering on a motorway. The faster you're going, the more impact steering has on your vehicle. So when you want to change lanes or change position, it's really important that you move your steering wheel as little as possible. Mirror, signal, now I can consider the lane change. I'm moving just a fraction, and that makes a really big impact on my vehicle. Now, I'm not overtaking anyone else. There's no reason that I can't be in the left lane. So let's go again. Mirror, signal, slight movement on the steering wheel, and I'm gently in my lane. Lane discipline is really important on a motorway. It's not just good enough to be within your lines. you need to be in the middle of your lane. Imagine that green bus ahead of us is at the edge of his lane to the right, and I'm at the edge of my lane to the left. We're only protected by some paint, so we're eventually going to come together. We need to be in the middle of our lane, and there's a few different techniques that you can use to make sure that happens. I'm going to have a quick glance in my right mirror. I'm having a look at how far away my car is from the white line. And the same in my left mirror. I want the white lines to be the same distance away from my car in both mirrors. Then I'm in the middle of my lane. The other thing you can do, imagine this. If you're walking down the pavement, you could quite easily put yourself in the middle of the pavement. No problem. It's the same when you're driving. So all I'm going to do is put myself in the middle of my lane and follow it all the way down the road. So I'm putting myself in the middle of the lane and just walking straight down it. And the last piece of really good advice that you can use to keep yourself in the middle of the lane is look as far ahead as you can. Where I want to be looking while I'm driving all the time, but especially on a motorway, is in the middle of the windscreen. I'm looking up and above the cars ahead of me, not down to the floor. Then I can pick a point in the middle of my lane and aim towards it. I'm looking directly over the steering wheel and to the point that I've picked in the middle of my lane as far forward as possible. Right now I'm aiming for the middle of that white car ahead of us. So instead of aiming for a point on the right and then the left and then measuring it up on the right and then measuring it up on the left, I'm just looking straight ahead and picking a point in the middle of my lane and aiming towards that. It's so much easier. Okay, there's no reason that I should be driving in the middle lane, so I'm going to move across. And now I'm going to pick a point in the middle of this lane, just where that black car is, and drive towards it. Now we're on the left of the carriageway, let's talk about emergency procedure. Because sometimes the worst does happen and your car might break down. It is important to note that you can only use the hard shoulder in case of emergency. So I'm not going to stop on it today to show you how to use it, but let's talk it through anyway. The hard shoulder is a refuge area. So if you do break down, keep your car moving, slide to the left with a good mirror check and signaling to let everybody else know what you're doing. Put your hazard lights on, which flashes all of your indicators, and then stop your vehicle as far to the left as possible and get out from the passenger side and stand as far away from your vehicle as possible. What you're then going to want to do is either use one of the motorway telephones, which are located at intervals like this one. That will go through to motorway control. Are they called motorway control? The people that control the motorways. They'll be able to call either breakdown services or emergency services, depending on what you need. If you've got your own mobile telephone, you can call emergency services or your own breakdown company yourself. You're going to need to tell them exactly where you are on the motorway though. And the best way to do that is to note down the last sign that you passed. Like this one. It says I'm on the M1, on the A side, and I'm 37.5 miles from the start. You don't need to understand the sign. You just need to take note of all of the details on it, and breakdown services or the police will be able to find you really quickly. Now, let's talk about following distance, because this is really important at high speeds. If we follow the vehicle in front too closely, if they brake, we'll have much less time to react to it. The correct following distance in the dry is 2 seconds. In the wet, it's 4 seconds, and in snow or icy conditions, it's 10 seconds. If it's at the intermediate stage and you're not sure whether to go dry or wet, then always pick wet. Now, we've all learned this on our theory test. Oh yeah, it's 2 seconds in the dry, but actually, how do you measure 2 seconds in distance? When the vehicle in front of me goes past something stationary, I'm gonna start counting. When I go past that thing, I'm gonna stop counting. Let's use the overhead gantry. 1, 2, 3. I'm about 3 seconds behind that lorry. It's dry today, so that's okay. Hazard lights on a motorway means that there's an incident or a hazard ahead. So if you notice that the car in front starts flashing their hazard lights at you, it means that they're going to either slow down quickly or they're warning you that there's something dangerous happening ahead. You can use the same system. If you notice that the cars in front are rapidly decelerating and you're worried about the vehicle behind, hit your hazard lights, decelerate hard, and they'll get the message. At the same time, if you notice some debris in the road and you want to warn the vehicle behind, put your hazard lights on and they should get the message that there's something ahead going on. Let's look at this road marking. Short, stubby lane dividers is a slip road. Don't get them confused with a lane divider. If you're the left side of that slip road marking, you're leaving the motorway. If you don't intend to do that, move across. Exactly the same though, if you're the right side of that slip road marking, then you are carrying on the motorway. If you intend to leave at that exit, you need to move to the left. Some motorways have variable speed limits, like this one. The speed limit is now 40 miles an hour. That's not advisory because it's in a red circle. That's mandatory. You have to go at a maximum speed of 40 miles an hour. And where motorways have a variable speed limit, they will have variable speed cameras. So the cameras will be set to the speed that are on those signs. We just noticed that the sign above us on the gantry had a right arrow, which means that we have to move to the right. There's probably going to be a problem in the left lane. That's not advisory either. You have to comply with that. What's probably going to happen in a second is the lane on the left will show a red X. If you drive in a red X, you will catch a fine. The red X is not there for traffic control, it's there for safety. Let's have a look. Now we can see the left lane has a red X in it. We are going to leave at the next exit. So let's have a look at our board. Luton Central, A505, that's where we want to go. The information on the left is telling us 1 mile, junction 11. So 1 mile at 60 miles an hour is about 60 seconds. If I was doing some overtaking, I'd need to get back to the left at this point. And let's look at the road markings. We know that solid white lines mean don't cross here. So we need to wait until we've seen that short, stubby slip road divider until we exit the motorway. And because we're leaving, we're going to look out for the countdown. Countdown markers show you exactly where your exit is so that you can time when you need to get off and when to signal. Here's the first countdown marker, 300 yards. So I'm going to signal back into the left lane, going to cancel my signal there, and I'm going to signal around the 2 marker. 200 yards is where we want to signal off a motorway or dual carriageway. Here's our slip road divider, short stubby line, so we're going to cross that and go onto the correct side. Slip road's on my right, which means I'm leaving. And now I'm going to check my speed, because after you've driven at 70 miles an hour for a while, or at high speeds, your head is now at 70 miles an hour. You're used to driving at 70 and everything else is going to feel pretty slow. I'm keeping an eye on my speed to make sure I'm doing exactly what I think I'm doing. And the speed that you need is going to depend on exactly what's happening next. If you've got a big roundabout coming up next, you might want to aim for 20 miles an hour. If you've got a give-way line, you're probably going to want to aim for 5 miles an hour. And if you've got red traffic lights like this, you're going to want to aim for 0. But keep an eye on your speed because you're probably not doing what you think you're doing. There's so much that you can do with a motorway. You can go to the seaside, go and visit friends in faraway places. Getting a driving license is achieving your freedom. But if you can't use a motorway, you're so limited to where that freedom can take you. If you've got any questions about using motorways, pop them in the comments. We're always in the comments commenting back with you guys, and we've got all of the advice and the support that you need. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you get all of our videos as soon as they drop, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.